This week on The Valley.
Because you didn't like her edit.
I don't have that kind of control.
Oh my God.
Well, what word?
If he's done it, no, he didn't. That's a lie.
Hold on.
Like, they're having attractions or something.
Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome back. Today we're going to be doing one final recap for season 2 of The Valley. This is for Reunion Part 3. Let's get right into it.
Back.
This reunion done piss me off. Alright, let's get right into it. So we pick up back where we left off last week with the Stanny drama. So Jasmine is being desperate, trying to be relevant, making no damn sense. Jason is looking like the biggest loser of them all, as he's been acting all season. And then his puppet master of a wife, Janet, says, I'm actually very glad that I kept bringing up what Danny did throughout the season because it's happened multiple times since then, even recently. He's been inappropriate and made many women feel uncomfortable. And Nia are like, that's a lie. Nia says, that's a lie, Janet, and you're very good at lying. You're making it sound like he's doing this every single night, and that's wrong. Janet says, I'm not going to stop talking about it until the behavior stops, and people here know about it. So everyone's like, what are you talking about? So then Janet says, Michelle. So then Michelle says, Brittany, you said that he made you uncomfortable. Brittany then does her little dumb laugh. Well, on my birthday party, he started drinking and acted a little different, a little flirtatious. I can't explain it, but he didn't do anything to me. And I just thought to myself, you guys, this just goes to show you how idiotic this whole thing is. The fact that Janet's smoking gun, she had to instruct Michelle to speak. Michelle then had to instruct Brittany to speak, only for Brittany to then say it wasn't even anything. But aside from showing us how dumb they are, it also showed me that these women sit around talking bad about Danny and Nia. They're clearly jealous of Nia, 100%. Then Andy asks Danny straight up, do you have a drinking problem? And Danny's like, no, I haven't had a drink in like 2 weeks. Jason then makes a bizarre declaration saying, just admit it, everybody in this stage has issues with alcohol. Whoa. Kristen's like, Jason, you can't say everyone. Like, that's a pretty bold statement. And Jason's like, yeah, it's a challenge for me. And I was thinking, Jason, maybe you're the one that has a drinking problem. Who speaks for everyone else and says everyone here has a drinking problem? That really is crazy. Brittany says that she says to Danny, no one thinks you're a bad person. We just think you have these moments. Ugh. Then move on to the Jason wedding ring drama. Jasmine says that she was very upset that Jason would think that she made this up. She says that she did make it up. Andy says, well, this was surprising, Janet, because, you had said that the rumor wasn't important, but you sort of went to go get a tattoo of a ring on your finger to sort of debunk the rumor. And Janet's like, oh, no, it wasn't to debunk it. Jason has never had a tattoo, and I've always wanted a ring tattoo. She was just making excuses. Zach says that he thinks he decided to run with it to turn it into a storyline for the season, and that's why they brought it back up. And Kristen's like, yeah, and now you're relevant. And Andy says to Janet, should you, thank Kristen or apologize to her because, she kind of did make y'all relevant this season, to which Janet says, no, because you know what? People are now going to assume things, and they're going to bring things up about our marriage. So Kristen says, well, the ones who really gave it more life, who gave life to the rumor, and the ones who kept perpetuating it this season were you guys. And not to be rude, but you're not really that important for people to care about. Boom. Period. But Kristen is right. They were the ones that wouldn't shut the hell up about it. Also, I hated the way that Janet, every chance she got, she would whisper some insult against Stanny. Anyway, Kristen definitely put them in her place. She had a great reunion, considering she was pregnant. Andy then asks Jasmine about her going off on Janet at the beach. Jasmine says, yeah, I was trying to talk to Jason, and Janet kept calling me a snake and wouldn't let me talk. Janet says, I didn't call you a snake. Which, by the way, pause for a second. Janet is right. Jasmine, she's right on the fact that Janet definitely had an attitude and she was being like obnoxious, but she didn't call Jasmine a snake. It was actually Jason. So I'm starting to think that Jasmine is not a reliable source. Anywho, Jason says he was so hurt and taken aback by Jasmine this season. He then turns to her and says to Jasmine, do you feel like you were manipulated this season? And Jasmine's like by people here? And Jason says, yeah, this season were you manipulated? And Jasmine says, I don't think so. So Andy's like, what are you insinuating, Jason? So Jason says, well, Kristen wanted to make Janet the scapegoat for everything. I watched the show. I saw that everyone wants to make Janet a scapegoat. And Kristen's like, what show are you watching? And it was kind of funny because a lot of people at that point were kind of laughing, not with Jason. They were laughing at him, how ridiculous he sounded. Jasmine says to Janet, we'll always be like family. It's normal to fight. And I've never hated you or anything like that. She says that she even cried when she saw one of these scenes about their little friendship breakup. Listen, like I said, I'm kind of sick of both of them. But they say that they've been cordial. Their friendship isn't how it used to be. Not at all. Janet then quote unquote cries about losing the friendship. Andy asks, who here thinks Janet is a Karen, like Jasmine said? Nobody raised their hand. I thought that was such a missed opportunity. Jasmine says, you know what, maybe one day they can be better friends like they used to. Alright, so switching gears, Andy brings up what happened after Jax got out of rehab and how mad he was that they turned Jax's bar into Britt's bar for a night. He says, how could I not be upset? Look at what they did. And they kind of try to explain to him that, like, it's not like they destroyed her or anything. It's not like they trashed it. It was just a play on words, and they just wanted to make her feel better. Zach is still banned from the bar, to which Zach says he used to defend Jax a lot. Like, back in the day, he was always on his side. That's why he doesn't really understand the animosity that Jax has, like, specifically towards him. Zach he says, like, I would support him. He just turned on me all of a sudden very hard. So Jax says to him, it's based on what you've been saying on social media. And Zach says, what I've been saying on social media is not even remotely close to what I really want to say about you. Jax then says to him, well, I don't care because you're no one to me. That's kind of rude. Then everybody laughs and jokes about Jax, his burner account that got exposed this season, the Frank Drebin. And every time they show the comments that he would put on there about himself from that account, it's just so funny. He also talks about what he sold on eBay, which I'm like, why are we talking about this? I don't care. Andy also brings up when they were at Benji's party and how Jax said to all of them, this is my show, it's my show. And it's such a crazy parallel because everybody knows he said this to Lisa Vanderpump on Vanderpump Rules. Then, boom, he got fired from there. And now he said it again this season on The Valley, and we know he's out for next season. So that's definitely a funny coincidence. Then they talk about one great moment of the season, which was Luke proposing to Kristen. So they talk about when they knew, they were the one for each other, and it was really sweet. Luke never watched her on Vanderpump Rules, which it's a good thing for her. I still can't believe that he is 8 years younger than her. He doesn't look it, or she doesn't look that she's 8 years older than him. But you know what? They fell in love very quickly, they say, and I'm rooting for them for sure. And now they have a baby, so it's really nice. Kristen says that she was definitely shocked about the proposal. Never did she think that it would be that soon or that it would be on camera. And they also give credit to Danny and Nia for helping to plan this and keeping it under wraps. Andy asks them why they didn't include Brittany, and Luke says, honestly, it's because I didn't want to run the risk of her telling Jax, which, as we saw, she kind of proved him right when they told them not to say anything about the engagement afterwards, and she went and ran to tell him. Brittany keeps saying that she regrets that, but I don't know, you guys. To this day, I still... Brittany's not that damn dumb, okay? To not have realized what she said to Jax, I think she knew and was very aware of what she was doing. But anyway, both Kristen and Janet agree that Janet shouldn't have gone to the party that night. Andy then gives her some, I wouldn't say words of advice, but kind of a reflection of, how he's seen Kristen change and evolve throughout her time on Bravo. Speaking of Hawaii, Andy brings up the conversation Jesse had with Aaron in Hawaii. Jesse says, yeah, it went very well, and it was definitely needed. Aaron also said to Michelle that it went well, and they even got along in Hawaii. They took a funny picture together. Jesse says, yeah, there is no point of having any animosity towards each other. Which, again, crazy for him to say that because Michelle and Aaron have broken up. Andy then brings up how Kristen, during Hawaii, said that Janet was like a Vanderpump Rules fan. His question is, why is that problematic or creepy? Kristen says it's not necessarily creepy. It's more so how she changed so much when she got on TV on season 1. For example, when Jax brought my ex to film, Janet was talking bad about me and in favor of my ex on camera. Who does that? Andy then asks Janet, did you befriend people like Kristen and Sheena to get on TV? And Janet's like, no, not at all. It's not like I have good-ass gold posters in my room. Kristen says, bottom line is, you act different on camera. Danny and Nia agree. So Janet says to them, I didn't even know y'all before the cameras. Nia responds to Janet and says, were you guys not the first couple to meet our daughters when they were born? Were you guys not the first couple to be dancing with our son in our living room? Janet's like, we only went a few times. She was trying so hard to downplay it. And Nia's like, I can't stand her lying anymore. Then Andy brings up what Janet said on the boat that last night in Hawaii about Danny when she used the word sexual assault. Andy says to Janet, you had made peace with them just earlier that day, so why go back? Janet says, well, when I was talking to Kristen, she kept bringing up that I was coming for her friends and attacking them. So I brought it up because that is the legal definition of his actions. Andy says, were you trying to, ruin his reputation or what was it? Janet says, no, he's responsible for his actions, not for me talking about them. If you put your hands on a woman without their consent, you have to own that and own up to that. And Jason's like, yeah, that's battery. Danny says, well, using these words are very powerful. Janet, she's sitting on her high horse and she says, then don't do things that classify as the definition of them. Danny says, yes, I know, that's why I've apologized and I will continue to. We had made up that day and you brought it back up. Janet says, again, Kristen kept saying that I was attacking you guys, so I brought it up and said what you did. Kristen then says, yeah, but even Melissa told you to stop bringing it up. Janet says, okay, well, we should definitely sweep his behavior under the rug. I guess that's what y'all are trying to say. So that Nia, Kristen, Danny, they tell her, we haven't swept this under the rug. We've talked about it 1,000 times because of you. What are you talking about? Andy says, who here thinks that the word Janet used was a very loaded term? And most people actually raise their hand, to which Janet then says, okay, then what word did y'all want me to use? That he groped, that he molested? I was like, oh my gosh, this girl just won't back down. She just won't calm down. She was in it. It was making me very angry. Andy, one thing I will give him credit is that he was definitely pressuring Janet and Jason on the BS they were saying, and I was very glad that he did. I think there was a point where Janet started to feel it, and she's like, okay, I won't say the word anymore. Nia then checks Janet and says, you were the one who keeps saying that he's done this multiple times to multiple women, and you need to be more careful with the words that you use and not assassinate people's character. Danny says, yeah, these words can really ruin someone. To which then Janet says, yeah, many people have said things that could ruin people's lives here, like Danny calling Michelle a whore. So now everybody's like, what the hell are you talking about now? Danny never said that. Danny said what Jesse had posted in the boys chat, which is very different. And then Michelle's in there like a dummy. Kristen's like, I can't. I feel dumb even hearing them speak. Talking about Jason and Janet. But her bringing this up just goes to prove the point that Jesse made last week. Janet likes to fight other people's battles because why the hell are you talking about Michelle? Like, shut up. That has nothing to do with you. You're trying to create controversy. She's one of these people that has a superiority complex, that likes to complain about other people's behaviors, who thinks she's some sort of police who can go around and call out everyone for what they did wrong. I can't even imagine how she's going to be during the PTA. She's going to be accusing every other parent of doing something wrong. She is a nightmare. Anyway, to wrap things up, Andy moves on to the last topic, which is the Zen party that they had at the finale. Brittany says that her and Zach are doing fine, despite the fact that he was screaming at her. They're doing fine. Andy then asks Danny, at the finale you brought up that Jack stopped inviting you to a lot of places towards the end of the season. Why do you think that is? Danny says, clearly so he could talk bad about me and then use that opportunity to say, where is he? Probably drunk somewhere. Andy then mentions how Danny had mentioned at the finale as well that Jax had slept with one of his employees. To which Jax is like, that was a rumor. That was a joke. Never happened. So then Luke's like, I did see you with one of the ladies who works there at another bar. He definitely did. Like, who are we kidding? Also, what's interesting is that, okay, get this, you guys. When filming wrapped and the cameras were down, guess who went to the party, to the finale Zen party? Jesse's girlfriend actually went to the party. Now, Michelle doesn't want to talk about it because she says that her attorney advised her not to speak about it. Something happened. There was a fight. Apparently some people were screaming. I really want to know what happened. But apparently Jesse's girlfriend made legal threats. Andy definitely put Jesse in his place about his girlfriend, and that if she's going to be coming to scenes, going to cast events, getting in the drama that is part of the show, she's going to be filmed. Like, hello, you can't be like, want to be part of it and then be like, I'm going to sue. Like, come on now. Then, to wrap up the reunion, Andy makes them say like nice thing about one another. Same old BS. The only notable thing, I guess, is that Zach says to Janet, if she can take accountability for what she's done and he does the same, maybe they can move forward. Andy says maybe you guys can unblock each other. Zach's like, okay, I'll unblock her. Andy then congratulates Jax on his sobriety. Jax says he wants to be peaceful to Brittany and hopes she can forgive him. Brittany then says it's going to take a long time for her to believe anything he says. And then to end it all, they serve mocktails in baby bottles. That was cute. And then Brittany does the toast, and that was the end of the reunion and the season. Listen, you guys, I was very glad to see this end. This was a good season, full of drama, full of scandal and controversy. They definitely brought the drama. The reunion sucked. I said this since the very beginning. I hated this reunion. No structure. Topic to topic. Like, I didn't like it at all. And I don't know. I just it didn't need 3 parts for sure. But you know what? We got to finish what we started, so this is why we are recapping it. But yeah, I don't really have too many takeaways from the reunion that are different from the takeaways that I had after the finale. Get rid of Jason, get rid of Janet, get rid of Jax, get rid of Jasmine. At this point, get rid of the J's. Anyone that has a name that starts with a J, get the hell out. And Michelle can get out too. Fired. We don't need to see her anymore. But you guys, let me know who you think should come back, who shouldn't come back. What would you like to see for season 2? What did you think of this third part? I find it crazy how Janet was coming for these pregnant ladies. Like, oh my gosh. But you know what? They held their own despite being pregnant. And yeah. Anyway, you guys, let me know your thoughts. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you guys so much for all of you who, started listening since the first episode. It's been 18 weeks. It always feels a little sad when like a season ends of a show, but you know what? There are more shows coming, and yeah. So thank y'all so much for riding with me these 18 weeks. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch y'all next time. Y'all take care. Bye.